back into that Sean podcast. Is I, the big Ush, is he, that Cat Daddy. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
Man, the draft is over. No more debating who should go where, who should do what. It already happened, so now we get to talk about and we get to debate, did they do a good job?
This is true. All right, next, we already did the NFC East. Next, we're moving on to the AFC East. And the team that we're going to start off with is those New York Jets. So, in the first round, the New York Jets took down 3 first-round picks. They got, at number 4, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, a cornerback out of Cincinnati. Then Garrett Wilson at number 10, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Then they traded back in and got Jermaine Johnson II, defensive end, edge rusher out of Florida State. In the second round, they got Breece Hall, running back out of Iowa State. Third round, they got Jeremy Ruckert, tight end out of Ohio State. Then they got Max Mitchell, offensive tackle, Louisiana in the fourth round, and then Michael Clemens, defensive end at Texas A&M in the fourth round as well. They ended their day after the fourth round. I actually low-key love this draft. I love all those first rounders. You know my love for Breece Hall, even though they have Michael Carter, but you know my love for Breece Hall. They're going to run this ball down people's throats and change it up with Carter. You know my love for Jeremy Ruckert. So there's that. They're taking all my guys, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Jeremy Ruckert, Sauce. Max Mitchell is a solid developmental tackle, and then Michael Clemens is nice depth at the defensive end spot. How you feel about this draft, Cat Daddy?
I thought the Jets absolutely killed this draft, and they set the pace in the first round. You thinking they had 7 selections between 4 rounds. They were done at the beginning of the third day, and that's really, I mean, with how they shaped out.
Naps.
They deserved it too, right? They select 3 players at the top of their respective positions in their first rounds, all of which I might note are premium positions. Sauce Gardner, number 4, cornerback. Garrett Wilson, number 10, wide receiver. Jermaine Johnson, number 26, edge. Then in round 2, they select one of the top running backs in Breece Hall. They get to pair him with Michael Carter, which I think will be a good combination in real life. Fantasy may be a different story, but real life, that's going to be a good combination. And then they finish day 2 by selecting Jeremy Ruckert, a tight end prospect who we've both been pretty high on.
Hurt my heart.
And then the fourth round, they just go out and they start filling out roster with someone who can be a backup tackle, an edge prospect who can fight for some playing time, get in rotation, future competition. I thought they had one of the top 3 drafts this year. Now, what's it going to look like in 4 to 5 years? And those 3 first rounders try and get contract extensions. That's a problem for 5 years from now or 4 years from now. But for right now, they absolutely killed it.
This is after they potentially pay a quarterback.
Yeah.
All right. That being said, all right. Here's the thing. Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson definitely at the top. Jermaine Johnson II. Here's my thing on him. And then, well, actually, I'm gonna ask you a question. Because of the Senior Bowl, did we potentially prop him up too much?
No, I don't think so. I was a big fan of Jermaine Johnson throughout the season. Whenever I watched Florida State, whenever I saw Florida State's defense on the field, it didn't matter who they were playing. Jermaine Johnson just stood out as the best player on the field overall whenever he was out there.
So why do you think he fell to 26?
The only thing I can guess right now is that maybe age. He's 23 going on 24.
Yeah.
It could have been interviews. Like, interviews are kind of, they're big as we get through this series more. We're going to get to like that Kansas City. where Kansas City had a huge steal in, I think, round 5 because of poor interviews.
Yep. All right. Your favorite pick out of this draft and your least favorite. Now, people, just because it's our least favorite pick does not mean we think the pick is bad. It's just the player we like least out of the draft.
My favorites was the Jets sneaking back into the end of the first round and selecting Jermaine Johnson the second at number 26. I think that's a great value. Absolutely great value pick for him. The least favorite, I mean, similar to when we're talking about the NFC East, a couple of those teams, it's if you're forcing me to choose a least favorite, then I'm going to say Jeremy Ruckert, just because they didn't find their long-term tight end solution during free agency, but they did spend resources on signing 2 free agent tight ends in CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin, and then they followed that back up with the draft selection of Jeremy Ruckert. It was a little strange, but I get why they did it.
So, that being said, we differ this time.
Good.
My favorite is Jeremy Ruckert. And it's for the purpose, yes, they signed CJ Uzomah. Yes, they signed Conklin. He shined out when he did. That was an anomaly last year. He is supposed to be a blocking tight end.
It was, absolutely.
Ruckert, right now, his best skill set is blocking, but I think he will showcase receiving ability. Uzomah will be their starter. I mean, he'll be the main guy until they move the other guy in. But the whole reason why I like Ruckert here is because this team wants to be a running team. I mean, that's the whole purpose here. They're trying for that San Francisco sort of offense there, and I think Ruckert has the ability to possibly grow into that George Kittle type role, where CJ Uzomah, I just don't see having those blocking chops. That being said, talking out the side of my mouth, my least favorite pick, and again, this has nothing to do with the player, has nothing to do with how I like the player for the team, but Breece Hall. I'm sorry. I thought it was way too high to be taking a running back when you had other needs that you did not address on the offensive line. And they possibly could have traded back and still got Breece Hall, but from what I hear, they had to take him when they took him because Houston was looking at Breece Hall. So, unfortunately, they had to jump up because they traded up for him. They had to jump up ahead of Houston to take a player that I don't think they needed right away. Especially when your guy, Isaiah Spiller, didn't go to, the 6th round?
Womp womp. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, you did. You called that. All right. Next up, we have the Buffalo Bills. They selected Kaiir Elam at number 23 overall. Your guy got into the first round, Cat Daddy.
He made it back. He
then
made it
we
back.
Have another second round running back, James Cook out of Georgia. We have Terrell Bernard, linebacker out of Baylor, who might have had the most oddly, humorously epic introduction of all time in the draft. Then we have Khalil Shakir, wide receiver out of Boise State in the 5th round. I really like that pick. And then in the 6th round, we have punter Matt Araiza, cornerback Christian Benford out of Villanova, Matt Araiza, San Diego State, and then Luke Tenuta, offensive tackle, Virginia Tech, and then Baylor Spector, linebacker, Clemson in the 7th round. I like this draft. I do. I like this draft. Kaiir Elam, I think, is a fantastic player, so I do enjoy that part of them getting there. Bernard, not as high on. I think he's going to be good. Cook, we'll talk about that. Khalil Shakir, I really like this pick. I was actually hoping he'd fall to the Cowboys, but hey, things happen. If they need a punter, they got one of the best And yeah, how you feel about this?
I thought it was a good pick, good draft for them. Bean does another good job of drafting defensive talents. Terrell Bernard was a good selection in the third, and then got some late picks in there. Let's see. Kyer Elam got into the first round. I guess Buffalo is not afraid of the C.J. Henderson comparison, where he can cover but just not tackle. And I thought they did good with the offensive picks too. James Cook in round 2, and then you have Khalil Shakir in round 5. So if they're going to have Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis as 1-2, Shakir will be able to fit into that slot role, and that just makes it offense even more dangerous.
All right, I'll start off. My favorite pick for this draft is Khalil Shakir. I should have said Matt Arisia, but it is Khalil Shakir. I like everything he does. He does all the dirty work type plays. He's one of those guys, go up, take a hit, great body control when he's coming down with the ball. My least favorite pick, again, I'm sorry, James Cook. Like the player, like the fit, but second round, people, come on now. When you didn't really need a running back, you need offensive line help again? I'm sorry. I mean, come on.
My favorite pick is James Cook because in his defense, he was selected toward the end of that second round.
Don't care.
And you know that offense is not going to give the ball to Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, whichever one's still on the roster. They're not giving the ball to him, so they need someone who can add a little bit more of a dynamic presence to the offense.
Singletary's been fantastic for them for a couple of years. I don't know why they hate him.
But for some reason they do. And they have James Cook, who I would expect to take over RB1 duties sometime this season. So he would be my favorite pick. My least favorites. Man. They had a pretty decent draft.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
You can talk about taking a punter in the 6th round if you want, but I think you like that pick.
But that's a really good pick because he was, the 4th or 5th specialist off the board, the 3rd punter drafted. He was the end of the 6th. That's not bad
say
value.
Say Bernard.
Man, I'm going to double down and go James Cook for my least favorite as well.
What? How does that work?
Just because they never know what they're doing at the running back position. They haven't figured it out over a couple of years, and I hope they don't waste the talent of James Cook.
All right, next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. So, as specified in the NFC East draft preview, the Miami Dolphins, we have to include Tyreek Hill in their draft haul because they use draft resources from this year to acquire Tyreek Hill. And here's the thing, even if they've used draft resources from other drafts, the more primary draft resource is what we go by. So if it's the 3rd round next year, but it was a 1st round this year, it's the 1st round this year we go by. And so for this one, we have to include Tyreek Hill. Then, did they have any other players they traded for? Because they don't get started until the 3rd round.
They don't get started until the end of the 3rd round, yeah.
Because their first pick that they picked was Channing Tindale, linebacker out of Georgia. Then in the 4th round, Eric Azuma, Azukan, wide receiver, Texas Tech. Then there's Cameron Good, outside linebacker, Florida. And then Skylar Thompson, QB out of Kansas State. I'm be honest with you. With Tyreek Hill, this draft is okay. My opinion. That's how I feel. It's again.
Yeah.
It's.
You have to factor in Tyreek Hill though, because
What
there
am I
wasn't a
excited
whole
for?
lot they could do with 4 selections.
They could have
I
done
mean, their
more than
first-
this.
They got what, 2 linebackers. They got a wide receiver who I think could fit Mike McDaniel's system pretty well, and then they got a project quarterback. I mean, it was a draft
They
highlighted by Tyreek Hill.
They could have went offensive lineman instead of. I mean, Channing Tyndale. We still see what he does, but we both agree he's a long way away. He's got a great athletic profile, but he is nowhere near where he needs to be on the field. He's going to be playing special teams. Eric Ekazun, whatever his name is, the wide receiver. Again, he's stuck behind a bunch of other players. I mean, you came in, you felt that good about your roster that you came and got depth? Instead of maybe looking at the offensive line and trying to, this is the thing. We didn't say it before. A lot of people like to draft for BPA. And I love the idea of BPA, but going straight BPA is nonsense. When you have needs, you need to recognize that. You need to recognize your team building. And when it comes down to it, yes, you will need to address needs. BPA is fantastic when it lines up with your needs. How do you feel about that concept?
I think for years Green Bay went majority best player available. That's what they did. They wouldn't factor in need, and unless they had 2 players on the board the same grade, and they used need as a tiebreaker. So I kind of find myself in that camp that when you have the opportunity to draft the best available player, and if he fills a need, fantastic. Could Miami have used selections on offensive line since that was a hole for them last year? They spent some money in free agency to help improve that, and I guess they felt comfortable enough that they didn't want to take an offensive lineman here. I didn't think their linebackers were terrible last year, so drafting 2 of them, I don't know if that's going to add depth or just presence on special teams.
And then a quarterback, I get it's the 7th round, but a quarterback, what?
So what was your favorite pick?
And I can't use Tyreek Hill because it's against the rules, so I'm going to go Channing Tyndale because if he develops properly, he's going to be a fantastic player. My least favorite pick is drafting a nonsense quarterback when you could have drafted at least some sort of athlete in the 7th round in hopes that he makes something happen on your team.
All right. My favorite pick was Eric Uzkanma, Texas Tech. I think he is going to be a good fit for the offense. I think Mike McDaniel is going to try and find ways to use him similar to how Deebo Samuel was used. Now, it won't be the exact same. I don't think he has the same skills, but I think they're going to try and manufacture those touches in the slots, out of the backfield. I think they're going to try that, so I think he's a good fit. Least favorite, I'm going to go with Skylar Thompson in the 7th. It's hard to say a 7th rounder is, a bad pick or your least favorite pick because the expectations are so low, but
why?
You got some holes in your team. You're
why?
Filling out depth. Do you really think Skylar Thompson is going to see any time on the field this year?
Over Tua or Teddy Bridgewater.
And if
it's
in
even
a
going to
scenario,
make the roster.
In a scenario where both of those guys get injured and go down, like any given Sunday, right? In a scenario where both your 1 and 2 quarterbacks go down, do you really think Skylar Thompson is next man up, or do you think Miami is looking for like a street free agent?
They're on the street.
Yeah. So I don't want to say it's a wasted pick, but it's a project quarterback, and they had 4 picks. why you're going with project quarterback as one of your 4 picks.
All right, next up we have the New England Patriots. So, we got Cole Strange in the first round.
Very strange, yes.
Tyquan Thornton in the second round. Marcus Jones in the third round. Jack Jones in the fourth round. Pierre Strong in the fourth round. Bailey Zappi in the fourth round. Kevin Harris in the sixth round. Seven Roberts in the sixth round. Chasen Hines in the sixth round. And then Andrew Stuber in the seventh round. What I have to say about this one is they made a lot of picks. To be honest, who in the world are their scouts? That's what I want to know. I get
Belichick's dog. That's who the scout is.
I get that we liked the Cowboys draft for having athletes, but this is taking that idea and going to another level. And then why are we doubling up on like you drafted 2 running backs in this draft and you already have 8 on the roster? You drafted a quarterback in the 4th round. What for? I have no clue what they're doing in New England. You drafted a pure athlete at wide receiver in round 2. Cat Day, make it make sense. Make it make sense.
I know that Bill Belichick has not lost his mind, but he makes you wonder if he's lost his mind. He had an obvious plan for this draft, and that was athleticism and speed. But I guarantee you one thing. Bill Belichick does not care, not even in the slightest, what we think of his drafts. And that's why you gotta love him. He has a vision, and he gets players to fit that vision. He has a plan. He gets players to fit that plan. So in New England this fall, I'm imagining that there's just going to be a track meet. They're going to get the fastest guys in the field. They're going to try and outrun the defense. My perception of this draft is that he was reaching for the first 3 picks. Strange, Thornton, Jones. Even the ones after that were kind of reaches too. But
now, to be fair, for the Strange pick, apparently people in the NFL, Kyle Shanahan, apparently really liked Cole Strange. Now notice the Niners weren't picking up there, so we might never know. But my understanding is that Kyle Shanahan would have taken him in the first round.
Well, too bad Kyle Shanahan didn't have a first round pick. Oh.
That being said, what are your favorite and your least favorite picks from this draft? I don't know what to say of this one.
I'm going to start with the least favorite because that is the easiest of the whole bunch, and it's what I found to be my least favorite pick of the entire draft, and that was Tyquan Thornton in the second round. I know Bill Belichick is looking for speed, but he selected Thornton while he still had George Pickens on the board, Alec Pierce on the board, Sky Moore on the board, and these guys went literally several picks after Thornton was selected. But he has a plan. Speed. I don't know if Mac Jones is going to have the arm to get him the ball and the accuracy to get him the ball at deep. So if and when he does take the top off the defense, will it do any good? Time will tell. Favorite pick? Man, this one's tough because I am not a big fan of this draft. But if I'm forced to choose, then I'm going to go with Pierre Strong. Just because he is an incredibly fast running back. He's got agility. If Belichick can find a way to constantly get on the ball, and assuming he does not fall into Belichick's doghouse, he could have a lot of upside for this offense.
All right, so my favorite pick is Marcus Jones out of Houston. This guy's very versatile, can do a lot. He could turn into a very good cornerback, but they're talking about using him on special teams, using him on defense, using him
special teams,
on
definitely.
offense also. So this is wacky. But if he's able to do all that, that's a fun player to watch. My least favorite pick is one of technically two.
Let me put it this way. When you're giving your least favorite pick for the New England draft, you can't go wrong with anybody.
I'm just going to say this. Bill Belichick, stop taking running backs every single freaking draft. Like, stop it. You know I'm right. Come on. He could go every other draft, but every single... Anyways, all right.
One thing I know for sure is I'm not drafting any Patriot running back in fantasy this year.
Never.
None of them.
All right. Let's rank the drafts. I'm going to go first. So my favorite draft out of this division is the New York Jets. I think they hit it out the park with pretty much every pick. I loved every pick, even the Ruckert pick. Even the Breece Hall pick. I just had to pick one. All right, next up is Buffalo. They did a lot of really good stuff. Some stuff questionable, but they did a lot of really good stuff that I liked. Next up, just by default, is Miami. Tyreek Hill keeps them in the mix, and they at least made selections that I think, could do something. And then there's New England. With all them dang picks that you picked up, not a single one of them makes sense to me. So I could have said Bailey Zappi's my least. Man, yeah, go ahead, rank them.
You could have gone with anybody. That's the thing. You could have gone with anybody and you wouldn't have been wrong.
No. I think Andrew Stuber in the 7th round, that's a great pick. All right.
How I rank these drafts in order. When you have multiple first-round picks, it's easy to say that the best one because you have multiple first-round players. But in this case, with the New York Jets, I thought they absolutely did a fantastic job of drafting 3 high-end first-round talents. And I think that's going to change the complexion of the organization in the future where New York may no longer be a laughingstock. So, New York Jets, I thought you did a great job. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins just because of Tyreek Hill. Now, if we're not factoring Tyreek Hill into this, the Dolphins drop. But I think the addition of Tyreek Hill instantly makes this team a lot better. Not even factoring in these draft picks, but it makes them better. And I thought that improved their team more than the Buffalo Bills selections, who I have at number 3. And then number 4 is the New England Patriots, which I'm pretty sure is the worst draft of this year. But maybe Bill Belichick will laugh at us in a couple of years because he knows better.
All right, now I'm going to start with this. I'm going to rank these teams in terms of hierarchy, not draft-wise, just in general. So, Buffalo, I still have as the number 1 team in this division. Next up, I have Miami. I think Miami, with a lot of the moves that they made in free agency, and then, of course, the Tyreek Hill trade, they are positioning themselves to push Buffalo. Then I have New England still, because I'm sorry, the Jets, I need to see it have them close that gap. And then it's the New York Jets. Carrying up the rear, but the New York Jets could ascend.
Yeah, I have the same order. Buffalo Bills are still atop the division. Adding Kyer Elam, I thought, was a good move because you have Tre'Davious White coming off the injury. Levi Wallace had signs elsewhere, so Elam providing coverage for the secondary, which is something that they were lacking against Kansas City in the playoffs. I think that was a very good move, so they're still atop. The offense got better too. Number 2 is Miami because of the addition of Tyreek Hill and some of the other free agents that they signed, specifically on the offensive line to help improve the team. I think they could be challenging for a playoff spot this year. Number 3 would be the Patriots, just because it's Bill Belichick, and he can make crap look good. And that's what he can do. He finds the strengths of the people and he uses that to his advantage. I think he'll continue to do that even with this, what I believe to be a poor draft class. But again, he knows better. And then 4th, you're right, the Jets are still in 4th. Not because they have bad players in their team like they did the past couple of seasons, but it's because this is all on paper. They are a paper winner. But when it comes to fall, those paper wins don't get you the wins in the standings. So this is all on paper. They got to put it together, but that starts with Zach Wilson. They're getting the talent to make Zach Wilson better. It's up to him to perform now. So we got to see it first.
All right, people. That is all she wrote for this episode. Tune in with us next time around. Hopefully everybody has a wonderful time.